Alright, so I figured while I had all three generations of the Matco angle wrenches, I would just do a real quick comparison video. And just a brief history on why there's so many variations. As most people know, Matco has never made tools. They originally started as a toolbox manufacturer under the Mac Tools umbrella, which is in turn how they got their name, Mac Allied Tool Company. But originally, Mac Tools started as three separate tool companies or tool manufacturers under the same umbrella. You had Mechanics Tool and Forge, you had Allied Tool Company, and then you had Clinton Tools. So that relationship lasted up until 1979 when the toolbox division decided to split with Mac Tools. And then they were shortly after purchased by Danaher. So from 79 until about 94, Bonney Tools was supplying their wrenches, and then Wright Tools was supplying their drive tools, so sockets, ratchets, and such. And then in 94, Bonney stopped making tools, and I believe shortly after closed the doors. They then switched gears over to what I consider the golden era, and that was Armstrong. So Armstrong took over all the supplying of the tools, so wrenches, ratchets, sockets, you name it. If it was USA, chances are it was Armstrong. And you'll kind of notice some of the early Craftsman USA stuff, especially the professional line, shared the same designs, and that's because Danaher had a huge contract at the time with Sears, supplying a lot of tools to the Craftsman brand under Eastco and Armstrong. So again, that's why there's a lot of similar tools for Matco and Craftsman. But yeah, that lasted from 94 until about 2017 when Apex Tools decided to close the doors on Armstrong and Allen. So that's kind of 2012 is kind of when things started to shift towards the budget versus the quality of the tool. So again, 2017, Apex Tools closed the doors on their Matco's main supplier. So then they shifted over to Sunex, AJ Manufacturing, and Astro to start supplying the tools. And so that's kind of where we're at now with this current set of wrenches. And they're definitely nice wrenches. However, I wouldn't consider them a premium wrench like I would these two USA made wrenches. And just a real quick comparison, let's do the 7/8. So just between the two Armstrong and Bonney wrenches, they're real similar in design. I'm not sure if Armstrong just took over the forging dies of Bonney, but again, these wrenches are very similar. They both have the 60 by 15 degree offset. The only main differences is the beam on the Bonney is real flat, whereas the Armstrong is a little bit more rounded off. They of course have the stamping on both sides. You have your part number on the back, stamped USA, whereas the Bonney, everything is just stamped on one side, and then the back is just blank. And then for the current wrench, it's more of the more modern 60 by 30. So in that regard, I would say this one might be a little better suited. But for me, what I liked about them was how thin the wrenches are. As you can see, they're both extremely thin, whereas the current wrench is more in line with just a standard wrench. So if I can line these up one-handed, you can see. And then of course the offsets. You have your 60 and then your 30 versus the 15 degree on the on the Armstrong and Bonney versions. But overall, they're all pretty nice wrenches. It's real unfortunate that the current Matco isn't supplied any USA made tools, with the exception of some of their sockets and ratchets still being made by AJ Manufacturing. But again, I just figured I'd just do a real quick comparison. You can find a lot of these older Bonney sets and Armstrong sets on eBay, which is how I got these. Every so often they'll pop up, so you know, it's definitely worth getting versus the new set, in my opinion. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching, and happy holidays.